My name is Amanda, and I currently live with my in-laws, Ben and Susan. Life with them is anything but peaceful. Can't you even clean properly? Having a young wife with no common sense is such a burden, Susan often says. From morning to night, she hurls such comments at me. At first, she pretended to talk to herself, making sure I could still hear her. Now, she says it straight to my face without hesitation. You really are useless. My sister-in-law Jessica is no different. She mirrors Susan's attitude, bullying me with the same disdain. Before my marriage, they were nothing like this. Both Susan and Jessica had been warm and welcoming. From now on, we're family, so don't hesitate to speak your mind, they said. That's right. I'm so happy to have a new sister, Jessica added. Their kindness filled a void I'd carried for as long as I could remember. My parents died in an accident when I was 5, leaving me orphaned and eventually adopted. My adoptive mother was loving and raised me well, but there was always an emptiness I couldn't shake. Even at 21, I struggled to understand love or connection fully. Marriage was something I thought I'd never pursue. Then I met Jack. For the first time, I felt warmth and a sense of belonging. When Susan and Jessica spoke kindly to me, I thought maybe, just maybe, this was the family I'd longed for. So, I had no hesitation moving in with them. But everything changed once we started living together. Susan and Jessica began treating me like a servant, speaking to me harshly. I tried talking to Jack about it several times. Mom and Jessica don't mean any harm, he'd say. You're just too sensitive and take it the wrong way. Try being more positive, like them. From his perspective, I must have seemed frustrating, always crying and passive. But his dismissiveness stung. I knew it wasn't fair, but I struggled to speak up. Since childhood, I'd had a habit of reading the moods of adults around me. When they scolded me, I'd shrink back, afraid of being disliked or kicked out. That fear stayed with me, making it hard to assert myself, even when I knew I should. Instead, I bottled up my frustration, growing bitter. 6 months after the wedding, my heart was close to breaking. Worrying wouldn't solve anything, and Susan and Jessica's behavior only escalated. Then one day, Jack's younger sister Emma came to visit. Much younger than Jack, Emma had a straightforward and kind demeanor. Despite her cute appearance, she had a sharp tongue and a good heart. Unlike Susan and Jessica, she was always kind to me, which seemed to unsettle them. Amanda, you've lost weight, Emma said, frowning. Did Mom and Jessica say something mean to you again? Jessica jumped in with a sharp tone. What are you talking about? What have we ever done to her? Emma's eyes narrowed. Well, you and Mom act nice in front of Jack, but behind his back, you're nasty. My brother's clueless, so I worry. Mind your own business. I'm just trying to educate her as her older sister, Jessica snapped. Wow, how condescending, Emma replied coolly. By the way, are you still unemployed? Jessica's face turned red. I just haven't found a job that matches my abilities, she shot back before storming off. Jessica had been jobless since graduating college. She helped with housework occasionally but didn't do much else. On the other hand, Emma had been living independently since college and worked for a top company. I'm sorry, Amanda, Emma said, turning back to me, but based on Jessica's reaction, I can guess what's really going on in this house. Don't worry, I'm staying here tonight, I'll handle them. What do you mean by handle them? I asked, feeling nervous but hopeful. That evening, dinner was tense. Jack was working late, leaving just me, Susan, Jessica, and Emma at the table. As usual, Susan and Jessica started picking on me. You still can't cook properly, can you? When will you learn our family's taste? Susan sneered. If Dad were here, he'd say he couldn't eat this awful food, Jessica added. Poor Jack, marrying someone like this. You didn't grow up with your mother's cooking, so this is the best you can do, Susan chimed in, her tone dripping with contempt. Emma, who had been quietly eating beside me, finally spoke up. Our family's taste? Wasn't it mostly instant meals or store-bought food? Dad never complained about that, and he certainly didn't lose his temper over it. Susan glared. What are you talking about? You left this family, so stay out of it. Emma didn't back down. And you've never had a proper job, so why act superior now? Susan was furious, but couldn't find a retort. Emma's bluntness silenced both her and Jessica. For the first time in months, I felt like someone was truly on my side. I'm just trying to teach Amanda who can't even clean properly, Susan sneered. Emma, ever calm, shot back. How can you complain about cleaning when your room is a mess? Maybe it's because you've never had a proper job. That's why you push all the housework onto Amanda and then have the audacity to criticize her. Enough, Jessica shouted, her face flushing with anger. You've always been so mouthy. I don't care about your complaints. Emma didn't flinch, repeating her point in a steady voice. This only made Susan and Jessica angrier. Their faces were flushed red with fury. Get out. Talking to you is driving me crazy, Susan yelled. Seriously, Jessica added. Every time you come home, you just stir up trouble. How dare you take her side over your own family? Emma's voice turned icy. That's because I'm the one who works, pays taxes, and takes care of myself. I don't go around being mean to people just because I don't like them. Before the argument could escalate further, Jack walked in, looking bewildered at the tense atmosphere. Oh, Emma, you're back, he said hesitantly. Susan rushed toward him, but Emma blocked her path, standing firmly in front of her brother. What's going on? Jack asked. Hey, Jack, Emma began, her tone serious. Have you really not noticed what these two are doing to Amanda? What are you talking about? He asked, frowning. Emma crossed her arms. How could you not see that your wife is getting skinnier and skinnier, or are you just ignoring it? I mean, Jack stammered. Jessica interrupted with a sharp voice. Don't say things like that, Emma. Emma shot her a glare before turning back to Jack. You can't say you didn't notice. You've always been like this, turning a blind eye because it's easier that way. You saw Mom giving everything to Jessica and nothing to me when we were younger. You saw the other nasty things she did, too, but you never spoke up. Now you think what they're doing to Amanda is just a squabble between women. It's not. Jack hesitated, but Mom and Jessica are just looking out for Amanda. Really? Emma interrupted, her voice sharp. If you don't believe me, listen to this. She held up her phone, playing a recording of Susan and Jessica bullying me earlier that day. What is this? Jessica shouted. How dare you record us? Emma ignored her. Listen carefully, Jack. This is what your beloved mom and sister have been doing to your wife. Jack's face turned pale as he listened. For the first time, he looked at me with something resembling understanding. Emma turned to me and said gently, I'll handle this tonight. Please, stay at my place. I'll contact you in the morning. I hesitated, but her firm gaze reassured me. Don't worry, she added. The one who really needs to hear this is my brother. If he had stood up for you from the beginning, none of this would have happened. She guided me out of the house, shielding me from Susan and Jessica's glares, and put me in a taxi. While I was grateful, I felt ashamed of how powerless I was. The next morning, Emma called me. I'm sorry about last night. Amanda, did you sleep well? Yes, I replied hesitantly. Is everything okay now? Everything's fine, she assured me. My stupid brother is completely devastated, but I gave him a good scolding. From now on, if anything happens, come to me immediately. Feeling hopeful, I returned to the house, but as I stepped inside, Susan and Jessica were waiting for me at the door, their expressions filled with rage. How dare you humiliate us? Susan shouted. That's right, Jessica added. Being disowned by my sister is the ultimate insult, and it's all your fault, but Jack is still on our side. Their anger was even more intense than before, and the small hope I'd carried quickly turned to fear. Come with us, Susan ordered. They grabbed my arms, dragging me inside and throwing me to the center of the room. Look, Susan said, pointing to the table. I saw a divorce paper lying there. We downloaded it this morning. Jessica smirked. Jack's part is already filled out. Sign it now. Did Jack really fill this out himself? I asked, my voice trembling. Of course, Susan snapped. We don't need a rebellious wife like you. My daughter and I both agree on that. I was in shock. Was Jack really okay with this? Did he truly sign this? My mind raced, but I couldn't recall what his handwriting even looked like. Why are you hesitating? Jessica said impatiently. Hurry up and sign it. And don't expect any alimony. You're useless and humiliated us by using Emma against us. If anything, we should be asking for compensation. That's right, Susan added smugly. We'll let you off the hook if you just sign the papers and cut ties with Jack. Summoning my courage, I said, I'll call Jack to confirm this. I reached into my bag for my phone, but Jessica snatched it away. Didn't I tell you? Jack feels the same way, so there's no need to confirm anything, just sign it, she barked, shoving a pen into my hand and forcing it toward the paper. Tears streamed down my face as I reluctantly signed my part. Well done, Susan said, her tone triumphant. Let's go submit it right away. They shoved me into a taxi and took me to the town hall, forcing me to submit the divorce papers in their presence. Finally, we're done with you, Jessica sneered. What a relief. Now the three of us can live happily together. You don't even have a home to go back to, do you? Susan mocked. After all, orphans are hopeless, no manners, no common sense. What a waste of time it was living with you. But at least we're free now. As their cruel laughter faded, I stood there, feeling completely shattered and abandoned. I stood frozen in front of the town hall, stunned. When I came to my senses, a wave of horror washed over me. I had actually submitted the divorce papers. Jessica had taken my phone, leaving me with no way to contact anyone. My mind raced. What should I do? Suddenly, a number I had memorized long ago popped into my head. Desperate, I hurried to a nearby payphone, dialing the digits with trembling fingers. The moment I heard the familiar voice on the other end, the tears I'd been holding back poured out uncontrollably. The person on the phone calmly reassured me, "Stay where you are, we're coming." About 10 minutes later, a car pulled up in front of me. Amanda, Amanda. The people who got out of the car were my adoptive parents, Emily and Brian. The moment I saw Emily's warm face, I broke down completely, clinging to her as sobs racked my body. She gently held me and stroked my back, whispering words of comfort. As we drove away, I explained everything to them. Emily's tone was firm yet gentle when she scolded me. "Amanda, you should have contacted us sooner." Brian reached over, resting a reassuring hand on my shoulder. "We can't let this go. It's our turn to step in." They exchanged a brief, determined look, then made a phone call. After hanging up, Brian said, "Let's go." I hesitated. "Where are we going?" Emily turned to me with a confident smile. "To your in-laws' house." Panic gripped me. I don't think I can face them." "Don't worry, Amanda," Emily said, patting my hand. "Just be confident. We're here for you." When we arrived at the house, I could barely move, frozen with fear. Emily gently patted my back again as Brian rang the doorbell. The door opened, and Jack came running. To my astonishment, he dropped to his knees in front of Brian. "I'm so sorry," Jack said, his voice shaking with emotion. "What are you doing?" Susan demanded, stepping forward. "Yeah, what's going on?" Jessica added. "Quiet." Jack's voice was firm, silencing them. He looked up at my adoptive parents, his face filled with regret. "These are Amanda's parents." "So what?" Susan scoffed. "Apologizing to your wife's parents on your knees? How pathetic." Jack turned to her, his expression cold. "Silence. These are not just any parents. This man is the president of the company I work for and the largest landowner in this area." "What? No way." Susan and Jessica gasped, their faces draining of color. "Yes, way," Jack said, standing. "My father-in-law's word alone could cost me my job, and he owns most of the land in this area, including the land this house is built on." My adoptive father's calm yet commanding voice cut through their shock. "Jack, I'm sorry to have called you out of work for this. Your boss and I agreed it was important to talk in person." "Of course, sir," Jack stammered. "This is about what my mom and sister have done to Amanda, right? I was planning to talk to you about it today." "Today?" Emily raised an eyebrow. "Did your mother not tell you what happened this morning?" Jack's confusion deepened. "No, what happened this morning?" Susan and Jessica began to speak over each other, their voices frantic. "It's nothing, just a misunderstanding." "Quiet," Brian said sharply. "This morning, your mother and sister forced my daughter to sign divorce papers and submit them to the town hall." "What?" Jack's voice cracked with disbelief. Emma arrived just then, stepping into the entryway. "Sorry I'm late." "Emma?" Susan's face turned livid. "What are you doing here?" Emma ignored her, walking over to my parents. She greeted Brian respectfully. "I'm sorry to have involved you in this, but when Amanda told me what happened, I knew I had to call you." Brian nodded. "You did the right thing. We'll handle this." Jack, still reeling, stammered, "Please, come in. Let's discuss this properly." Despite Susan and Jessica's protests, Jack ushered us into the living room. He turned to Brian, his face pale with shame. "I'm truly sorry for my mother and sister's behavior," Jack said, bowing deeply. "I'm ashamed of myself as well. I promise to protect Amanda from now on." Brian and I exchanged a glance, both puzzled by Jack's sincerity. "Jack," Brian said evenly, "do you really not know what happened this morning?" Jack hesitated, looking between us. I don't. What do you mean?" Susan and Jessica tried to interject, but Brian's sharp glare silenced them. "This morning," Brian continued, his voice firm, "your mother and sister forced Amanda to sign divorce papers and submit them. They made her believe you had filled them out yourself." Jack's eyes widened in shock. He turned to his mother and sister. "Is this true?" "No, of course not," Susan stammered. "It was just a joke," Jessica added hastily, "to teach her a lesson." Brian's voice cut through their excuses like a knife. "Enough. You coerced her into signing and submitting the papers. Admit it." Susan and Jessica finally fell silent, their faces pale. Jack's shoulders slumped as he turned to me, tears welling in his eyes. "Amanda, I had no idea." He clenched his fists, trembling with anger and regret. "I was planning to apologize to you today," he continued. "Emma made me realize how much I've failed you. I wanted to make things right, to leave this house and start over with you as a couple." He turned to my adoptive parents, bowing deeply once again. "I'm sorry, I failed my wife and let this happen. Please, help me make it right." I stood in front of the town hall, stunned. As the gravity of my actions hit me, I realized with horror that I had submitted the divorce papers. My hands trembled, and tears blurred my vision. Jessica had taken my phone, leaving me helpless. I was ready to apologize, to beg Jack to start over, even if he told me he wanted the divorce, because I truly loved him. But why? Why had it come to this? Before I could spiral further, I remembered a phone number, one I had memorized long ago. I hurried to a nearby payphone, dialing with trembling fingers. When the familiar voice answered, I broke down. The tears I had been holding back poured out, and my words spilled incoherently. "Stay where you are." The voice reassured me gently. "We're coming." Not long after, a car pulled up. My adoptive parents, Emily and Brian, stepped out, their faces filled with concern. "Amanda," Emily said softly as she approached me. The moment I saw her, I fell into her arms, sobbing uncontrollably. They brought me into the car, and as we drove, I explained everything. Emily's scolding was gentle, but firm. "You should have come to us sooner, Amanda." I didn't want to trouble you," I stammered. Brian glanced at me through the rearview mirror, his voice steady. "You're our daughter. It's our turn to step in." After a brief phone call, we drove straight to my in-laws' house. I felt paralyzed by fear. "I don't think I can face them," I whispered. Emily held my hand. "We're here for you. Just be confident." When Jack opened the door, he surprised everyone by dropping to his knees in front of Brian. "I'm so sorry," he said, his voice thick with emotion. "What are you doing?" Susan snapped. "Yeah, what's going on?" Jessica chimed in. "Quiet." Jack's voice was sharp as he turned to face them. "Mom, sis, you didn't know who Amanda's parents were, did you? If you had, I doubt you'd have bullied her the way you did. I thought you were just ignorant. Now I see it was something worse, disgusting cruelty." Jessica tried to laugh it off. "You're kidding, right? She probably told you about her parents to win you over." "You're wrong." Emma stepped forward, her voice cutting through the tension. "Amanda's background has nothing to do with this. I stood by her because of you too, your disgusting behavior. Don't try to shift the blame." The argument spiraled until Brian intervened. "Enough, let's discuss this properly." Once inside, Brian revealed what Susan and Jessica had done, how they had forced me to sign and submit the divorce papers. Jack was visibly shaken, his face pale with disbelief. "Is this true?" he demanded, looking at his mother and sister. "It was just a joke," Jessica tried to explain. "To teach her a lesson," Susan added. "Enough," Jack roared, silencing them. He turned to me, his eyes glistening with unshed tears. "Amanda, I had no idea. I was planning to apologize today, to leave this toxic house and start over with you. I love you." Brian spoke up, his voice measured. "If you're serious about protecting Amanda, are you willing to cut ties with your mother and sister?" "Yes," Jack said without hesitation. "Cut ties?" Susan exclaimed. "You'd abandon us for her?" "Yes," Jack replied firmly, "because Amanda is my wife, and I've failed her for too long." Emily touched my arm gently. "Amanda, what do you want to do?" I couldn't speak, overwhelmed by everything. I stayed silent. Emily turned to Jack. "If you mean what you say, come to our house tonight. We'll talk then." That night, Jack came to my parents' house, and true to his word, he cut ties with Susan and Jessica. When they began harassing us, they were repeatedly turned away by the police. One night, they shattered a window trying to break into our home. That was the last straw. They were arrested, and with no one to bail them out, they remained in custody. With that chapter of our lives behind us, Jack and I moved into a small apartment. Slowly, we began to rebuild our relationship and enjoy life as newlyweds. Jack has been attentive and kind, standing by my side through everything. As for my adoptive parents, I no longer call them foster parents. They're my real mom and dad. Their love and support filled an emptiness I hadn't even realized I carried. I've learned to express my feelings and let others in, a lesson Emma helped me see. Life isn't perfect, but it's ours, and for that, I'm deeply grateful.